Well, I had a corporation that I'd founded called Teletron Communication Electronics, and I was also writing magazine articles for a lot of gun magazines. And John Amber of the old Gun Digest saw some of the articles and asked me if I would do an interview with Ted Smith of SAS Dies. It's in the same city in North Bend where I had my company. So I said, sure, and I went out and saw Ted. First thing I saw was that he was kind of immobile. He was in a recliner, and it turned out that he'd been burned in a fire using gasoline to clean his dies, and a space heater clicked on and set him on fire. So he'd spent about a year in a burn ward, and he said, look around the corner. And I looked around the corner. There's a breezeway with his desk and a little office, and it was completely buried in letters. He said, bring me a couple of those letters. So I did. We opened them, and they were stale dated checks and orders. And so I got to thinking about that, and I was getting ready to sell my corporation to my employees anyway. And I said, Ted, if I take care of all the logistics and marketing and sales, would you teach me how to make swedging dies? And we made an agreement. And so I spent the next couple of years learning how to make dies from Ted and selling his products under the Dave Corbin Manufacturing Company, just a personal company. So eventually it got to the point where the sales were so great that I asked Ted, well, would you like to just sell it to me? And he said, sure. At one point along the line, I'd ask him, Ted, if you had $1 million, and this was back in the days when $1 million was actually real money, what would you do with it? And he said, I'd buy a Mercedes and I'd hire a driver because I'm tired of driving. So I said, oh, well, that's a pretty modest goal, but I guess you could do that. Well, a few years later, I'd kind of lost touch with Ted. I'd built a new plant in 1984 and moved to Medford. And Mercedes came driving up to my office. I looked out the window and saw a driver got out, opened the back door, and an old, kind of crippled up gentleman with a cane came out, and it was Ted. The first thing I said to him was, Ted, you must have made your million. He said, yep, I invented a re-inking machine for dot matrix computer ribbons, and I sold over $1 million worth of them to one company in Portland. I said, great. Now, to me, that was an inspiring thing, that a person could be almost broke his whole life, spent all his money on machinery, and just enjoyed inventing things, but he never made much money with it until finally, when he was almost ready to pass away, he passed away 2 years later, he achieved his dream. He got exactly what he wanted. And I figured if he could do it, it inspired me to do whatever I wanted, and I thought my customers could do the same thing. So, and from that point on, we just developed the tools and improved and standardized and sold around the world. And I really enjoyed that. That was helping people do the same thing that Ted had done and that I was doing, was to achieve their goals. I think the milestones were really not so much solid dates. I mean, there are a couple of them. One of them was when we moved out of my garage because we had kind of consumed the laundry room, we consumed the family room, and we had employees using the restrooms to the point where the kids were late for school sometimes. And my wife said, you have to build a building. You can't keep doing this. I said, fine. So we bought some property and we built the building, a dye works that was designed for us. So that was 1984, and that was a kind of a milestone. But in general, the milestones were slow and gradual, and they just kind of appeared. We didn't look around and say, oh, we've done it. And one of them was just getting swedging to be accepted as a reasonable means of making bullets by the average person. People didn't believe you could do it. They thought, well, the factory knows how to do it. There's nobody out there that can do as good as the factory. It took a long time before we could show that actually our customers were leading the field by many years over what the factory was doing. They were producing designs that were so far advanced from what the factory was, and nobody knew it. And quite often I would help to start companies just by giving information and tooling and advice to the people, like trophy bonded bullets and Corbin bullets, and just hundreds of different companies that got started based on our equipment. Swift Bullet Company in Kansas. All those were started, they were kind of milestones in their way, but the fact is that it took us a long time to get recognized as being capable of that, simply because nobody wanted to tell their competitors where they got their stuff and how they were able to do it. And so mentioning Corbin was just not done, So I had to kind of enjoy the idea that people finally decided it was a mark of quality to say we made our equipment on, or we made our bullets on Corbin equipment. And that was kind of a milestone, but it was a slow one. It took a long time for it to happen. And another one was for government agencies, the Secret Service, the Army, the Picatinny Arsenal, all the different agencies to finally start placing orders with us, because they realized that we had designs and ideas and methods that were applicable to what they were doing. The Green Bullet project was one of them that I was flown to Picatinny Arsenal twice in New Jersey to help the physicists there install 2 of our hydro presses, which really didn't require much installation. It was mostly just they wanted to have somebody there to hold their hand and get them started with it. But that was kind of a milestone, because from that point on, many other government agencies began ordering from us. And then as I got older, my wife and I did this together for 42 years, and she passed away from COVID in 2021. And so at that point I thought, I can't really continue doing this by myself anymore. I need to find some people that are as motivated, interested, and can bring to the field the same kind of innovation that I brought to Ted Smith's dies. And finally, when I found Kelly and Ryan, that was a milestone. That said, okay, now the company's safe. It can go forward, it can improve. We will achieve much more than I was able to achieve by myself. And I can finally kind of pass the reins, pass the torch, so to speak, to somebody else. That was a real milestone for me. One of the things that was kind of impressive to me was how our customers would make their own ideas come to life with our equipment. Sometimes it wasn't even my ideas, it was the customer's idea, and I was able to refine it and say, well, if we just change this a little bit, it becomes practical. And then they would make a projectile that was so advanced compared to what was on the market. And within a few years, the other companies, the major manufacturers of projectiles, would start offering something in competition with it, or they would buy the bullet. That was one of the more interesting things, is they'd load their ammunition with our customers' bullets and then advertise that that was their premium line of ammo. And that was kind of a way that the industry was changed by swaging and by individual people with their own ideas. The other thing was that we were able to see a lot of custom bullets come on the market, a lot of custom bullet companies. There were just one guy working by himself, maybe his family, and achieving a dream of being able to do the same thing that I did, basically. Was just have something you really like to do and make money at it, and provide products that other people enjoy and can use. And so it really changed the industry to have so many sources of high quality projectiles in all different calibers, not just the popular calibers, but obsolete calibers, calibers that people wanted to shoot their grandfather's rifle and they couldn't, and now they could. And also the ability to get any weight you want. It's so easy to adjust the weight with swaging. You can make any weight a bullet with the same equipment. So basically that was a big advantage to the market. Actually, the thing that I'm really the most proud of is the fact that so many people have been able to achieve their dreams and have a home business of their own. and actually make a good living making custom bullets. And when I look at the number of people, it's hundreds and hundreds of them that have little businesses that probably most shooters have never heard of because they have a small local market or they just sell quietly by mail. But there's also a large number of them like Corbin Bullets, Swift Bullet Company, Glazer Safety Slugs, all these companies that were based on our equipment. So that to me is the most prideful thing that I have, is the idea that so many people could achieve their dreams and based on what we made.